Our subject this morning, be still and know. Be still and know. Know what? The truth, reality. And boil it right down. Know the glorious omnipresence of God. That's what we want to know. Of course, we all realize that in this worldly dream consciousness, if we can be calm, we can play our parts in a better way. If we're in business, we can be a greater success if we are calm. But those things are insignificant compared to what we really want. Be still and know. Be still and know God. Be still and know His glorious omnipresence. Now this truth, which we want to really know, is not found in books. It is not found in activity. Because when you go to sleep at night, or to put it in a little different way, if somebody should tap you a little hard on the head, where is your consciousness of what you've learned from books? Where is that consciousness of what you've attained by activity? It has gone. And therefore, truth will be found where? In the silence within. In the silence within. Because in that silence is God's glorious omnipresence. And so realize, be still and know, means, as it says in Psalm 76, 46, Psalm 10, verse, be still and know that I am God. Realize that. Our consciousness is God's consciousness. We know it's limited. We know it's circumscribed, but nevertheless it is the same consciousness of God. And if we can remove those barriers that make us feel separated from Him, we will realize our oneness with Him. And so, consciousness, awareness, uninterrupted, gives us truth. Realize your own consciousness, if you can stop the interruption in its flow, is God's consciousness. In this human body as human consciousness, subconsciousness, superconsciousness, in creation as Christ consciousness, cosmic consciousness as God the Father. None other than in each and every one of us. So, be still and know that by following the techniques left by one who knew that he and his Father were one and the same thing. So consciousness is the key. Realize that. Consciousness. Every time you go to sleep, there's an interruption in your consciousness. You go to God after you sleep, but you don't remember it. And so this consciousness, awareness, is the key to knowing truth or the omniscience of God. And so our world is in consciousness. Our world is in our own consciousness. In sleep, in anesthesia, in suspended animation. Where is your world? Where is my world? It has gone. In the next world, we know it. It exists where? In consciousness. Not someplace way off that they speak about, something we're grasping for and can never attain. It's right within us, in our consciousness. Eye hath not seen nor ear heard the things which God hath prepared for those who love Him enough to find Him. And so in the next world, we will know it by an uninterrupted consciousness. Finally, the omniscience of God. The glorious omniscience of God is cosmic consciousness. Still the same consciousness. But there's an interruption. Thank God. He responded to our pleas and has sent us the channel, our beloved Master, whereby if we follow humbly and do as He has said for us to do, follow with loving attention the meditations He has left, we will know. Thou and I, O Father, are one. Thou art mine. I am thine. Be still. In the stillness within, know that your consciousness is one with your Father's consciousness. So, in silence. You know, when you first started to meditate, silence. Nothing but trouble. Nothing. Blankness, darkness. And when the thoughts began to run things, you had more trouble than you ever had before. But still, in that silence, you will find what you want. That you and your Father are one. We have a wonderful reference in Numbers. The 9th chapter, 8th verse. And Moses said unto them, listen carefully, and Moses said unto them, stand still, and I will hear what the Lord will command concerning you. Isn't that wonderful? Still your own thoughts. Still the mind. And you will know what God wants you to do. That's a most wonderful reference. Numbers chapter 9, 8th verse. And Moses said unto them, stand still. He must have had some restless people. Well, they're restless. As long as we're in this cosmic dream, we're restless. But if we stand still, that is, still the waves of the mind, not only the body, but still the waves of the mind, in that silence within, we will find the glorious omnipresence of God. Not in imagination, but as your own consciousness. For our Master has said there is no difference between the bliss which we feel in meditation and God's consciousness. Realize that. Realize what this wonderful scripture reading means. And so, silence is not a waste of time. In that silence is the infinite awareness of God. His own consciousness, which is in all things and continues in all things, does not change, is not interrupted. That's the key to the talk this morning. If you can retain your consciousness in an uninterrupted state, you can follow the river of consciousness back from your little vehicle, which will express divinity, to the great presence of God. Realize, silence is not an empty space. In that is the awareness of God. His consciousness has produced all things. First His consciousness, then light, and then electricity, if you want to call it that, electromagnetic force, and finally this creation. From what? From the truth, the reality, the omniscient consciousness of God. And so do not think, even though you're having a little difficult time, everybody has it. Don't get discouraged. You're made in the image of God. Keep at it with faith in God, and above all, loving attention. He must respond. He will respond, because it's Himself that is in your heart as love. How can He resist Himself? We must realize these truths. That's why Master said, loving attention is so necessary to the coaxing of God to come out of His shell, so to speak. And so, why not know, as the Master said, this conscious power behind this machine? Why not know the conscious force? And behind this universe is a wonderful universe. The universe of light, which can be known. Eye hath not seen nor ear heard the things which God hath prepared for his loving devotees. These are truths. So behind this universe which we see and know through the five senses is another wonderful universe. Know that. It can be known. And the passport to the universe behind this universe and to the cosmic consciousness of God is what? Consciousness. Uninterrupted consciousness. Realize it. If you can follow your consciousness back in a conscious way, which you can do by following the meditations which the Master has left for us, you can bridge over subconsciousness into the superconscious presence of God. You can consciously pass through the state of subconsciousness and sleep and dreams, but you don't want to stop there. Why not know the storekeeper, as the Master said? Knowing him, he can give you all things. Consciousness, realized, uninterrupted, is the key to the realization of truth. Now listen just for a moment to one or two words which the Master has written, because he knew the ultimate truth. Whatever I say, I owe to him. And that's why when I first met him, he just asked me to do one thing. He said, "Doctor, will you, after you try meditation and it helps you, will you help others to attain it?" I said, "Certainly." And I've been trying to do it ever since. Why? Because it gives you freedom. It gives you the freedom of the soul. Above all, it gives you oneness with God. And so these wonderful words, he says, the bubble of my life, the bubble of my consciousness, cannot die. The bubble of your own consciousness, it's interrupted, we will all admit that. It cannot die, whether floating in birth or disappearing in death. In the ocean of cosmic consciousness. Why? For I am indestructible consciousness. Realize it. Realize that. When you do your meditation, realize that you are in the presence of God, waiting any moment to jump into infinity, the presence of God. These are one of the most beautiful things the Master has said. I am indestructible consciousness. You are consciousness, nothing else. So am I. Let us realize. Now comes the question, if God is all conscious and omnipresent, and we are made in his image, why is our consciousness interrupted in sleep and death? That's a sensible question. You know when you're tired, you lay down. Can you keep awake? No. And when death comes, consciousness is interrupted. Unless you have followed the Master's teachings, give an effort daily to be one with his omniscient consciousness, it will not be interrupted. But that's beside the point. That's the subject for another talk. So, the question is, why is our consciousness interrupted in sleep and in death? Machines tire and wear out. Trees live a long time, some of them. Those sequoia trees live, I forget how many years, thousands of years. But they tire out. Animals like crocodiles, elephants live a long time. Man's body becomes tired and wears out. These are the things we must remember. But the point is this. Your answer, why our consciousness is interrupted in sleep and death is this. Because our bodies become tired and require rest and finally pass away. Because of that, our consciousness being attached to the vehicle, to the body, believes that it too is subject to the law of change. You see? And so when the body tires and requires rest, finally passes away, the consciousness, believing through attachment that it is that body, that it is wearing out, and that it has got to die, when sleep comes, when death comes, the consciousness is interrupted. It does not remain dynamic within us. Now there's your answer. There's your answer to that question which everyone asks. What is the remedy? Don't be attached to the vehicle, which passes away. Don't be attached to it. Rise above it, supersede it. Be attached to that consciousness which always was and always will be your own consciousness, the presence of God within you. That will not pass away. The answer is simple. Because we've been so attached to this vehicle, when it tires and finally dies, our consciousness believes it is subject to the same law of change. Break that belief by following what the Master has left for us. Through regular meditation, know, as we say in our prayer, I am not the body. I am not this body which passes away. Within me is my Father's presence, which always was and always will be. That's what I am. Father, reveal thyself. May the glance of thy grace fall upon me, for only then will I know. Only through thy grace will I know that thou and I are one. Thou art mine. I am thine. And finally, in breathless silence, when the breath has been stilled, when the heartbeat has been slowed down, in that breathless silence within, we must be still and know. We must know, as the Master has written, the glorious omnipresence of God. The glorious omnipresence which is our only friend and which is helping us through all our friends. God is the only reality. He is the truth. He is existent. We must know that. And as Master says, sit still in the breathless silence. When you meditate, do you sit still anticipating that you are to jump into the presence of God and He is going to give you freedom? Do you feel that? It's so difficult. But those are the Master's words. Sit still in the breathless silence, expecting every minute to make the dash for freedom into the infinite. Aren't those wonderful words? Do you feel that way when you meditate? If you don't, let's begin. Because just beyond this wall of vibration, of darkness, just beyond that is the omniscient light of God. You can break through. You can make your dash for freedom if you persist with loving attention. Because God is your Father, my Father, and we are made in His image. Realize this wonderful truth. And the Master says it in such beautiful words in his metaphysical meditation. Every step by step he is given as he himself took these steps for us to follow. I have a few words perhaps you'd like to hear that came to me. One time, in breathless silence, back we creep, with none to guide, save great Om's beat. Within that Om, our age-long friend whose guidance will be till the end. The age-long friend is the omniscience of God, the glorious omniscience of God. And the last part, you know, O ring of gold within, of nameless hue, O door of heaven by which we all pass through into that realm, God's kingdom bright, eternal bliss. the immortal light. These things we can realize in our meditation. And so, finally, in the unplumbed space of cosmic silence, there you will find your friend, your age-long friend, whose guidance has been and will be till the end. God Himself. There you will find His great peace and joy, inexhaustible. There you will find the security which you can find no other place, because God is all. And in His great consciousness, you will find peace and bliss and all fulfillment.